Hi everyone, my name's Kyle. I'm an Adobe specialist at the University of Arizona, and today we're going to be looking at a podcasting tool called Adobe Podcast, found at podcast.adobe.com. This is a tool for those of us who are interested in podcasting but might feel overwhelmed by some of the technology. Today we'll be focusing on Podcasting 101, how to record clean audio, how to enhance that audio, how to edit, and how to add music. By the end of this tutorial, we should be able to have ourselves a professional sounding podcast. So let's start with the basics. Adobe Podcast is a web-based tool, so I can navigate to podcast.adobe.com to get started. On the homepage, we'll see that there are three main tools we can use, and I like to start with Go to Mic Check. Let's check out the mic. This tool helps me ensure that my mic is set up well to produce the highest quality sound possible. I'll hit start, and then into the mic I'm going to read, how is my microphone setup and placement? This looks like it's not too bad, a little too much gain, which can give me a bit of distortion, but overall not too bad. Another great tool available is the Enhance Speech tool. This tool allows me to drag in pre-recorded audio or even video that has poor quality sound. This can take a couple minutes, but once it finishes, I can re-download my MP4 with sound that's been rebuilt using AI technology. It used to be the case that if you had poor audio, that's one thing that was really difficult to fix. So if you had wind or traffic in the background, there was really no saving your audio. AI rebuilds your audio from the ground up, allowing you to choose how much audio enhancement you want. Pretty cool. The most impressive features of this program lie within the Studio feature that you can see is still in beta. Before we start a new project, I want to scroll down to the bottom to show you that there are templates pre-made, so you don't have to start from scratch. And once you've finished recording and editing your podcast, you can kick things over to Adobe Express, where there's templates for podcast cover art for you to change and make your own. When selecting new project, I have three options. I can start recording directly into the program. I can upload my audio or pre-recorded audio. And the third option is to invite guests to record. I can select create a shareable link and then copy that link to share with a guest. Adobe Podcast will open in their browser and will be able to record to my device simultaneously. To keep things organized, I always want to rename my project. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see I only have 4 tools. Super simple, super easy. Let's start by recording directly into the program. And to show you the enhanced speech features, I'm going to try to make some poor audio. When I hit start recording, maybe I'll turn away from the mic like this. And as I talk, I'll introduce myself. Hi, my name's Kyle. I'm an Adobe specialist, and today we're going to be talking about podcasting. Podcasting is something we typically have done in Adobe Audition, but today we're going to do things a little bit differently. If I make a mistake, something I like to do is take a pause and then continue speaking. This is going to help me in my editing process. Now, when I end my recording, you're going to see the program's going to transcribe everything I said. And searching around, there's no editing tools like trim or cut. There's no timeline for me to move things around. The process for editing in Adobe Podcast is to highlight text and to hit delete to remove any mistakes. So we'll start at the beginning. I'll get rid of this first part where I was talking, and then we start with, hi, my name's Kyle. I also mentioned that when I make a mistake, I like to pause. A long pause on your transcript shows up as this dot here, and I can click that dot and hit delete to make it disappear. If I forget to mention something or I say something out of order, I can highlight text and copy it by holding Command or Control C, and then using Command or Control V, I can paste that at a different point in my transcript. And to improve my audio's quality, I can go to Filters and I can turn on the Enhance speech feature, deciding if I want to turn its strength all the way up or if I'm going to practice moderation. If I have pre-recorded audio, I can upload it here or by selecting upload, finding that audio on my computer and importing it into the program. When you import audio, it doesn't automatically transcribe, so we have to hit these sliders right here and ask it to transcribe the audio for me. And just like before, I can make changes to this transcript by highlighting, deleting, copying, and pasting. If you're interested in adding closed captions later or downloading your transcript, Adobe also allows you to make edits to correct your transcript at this point. So say there's a name misspelled or something that needs to be capitalized, this is where you could do that. I'm going to start by applying my enhanced speech filter at 90%, and then I'm going to add music. Adobe Podcast has music libraries built directly into the program. Some of these are dark and ominous. Maybe you have a true crime podcast. Some of them are like upbeat and electronic. Maybe you have a tech podcast. Choose whichever music fits the vibe of your podcast. And you'll see they're divided into intros, outros, transitions, and backgrounds. So I'll add a long intro at the beginning. I'll create a long outro. To break things up, I can add some transitions. Let's do a short here. And then I can also add background music. I'll select a short background song, but if I want this to play while I'm talking, I need to go to this toggle and I need to set this as background. Now when I hit play, the music will play quietly underneath the dialogue. If you want these transitions to start earlier while you're talking, you could have them slowly fade in or even fade out. And if you decide any of your music is too long, you can select where you want it to stop and you can split that clip, and then I'll hit delete on the second clip. Now, as of right now, there's only music. There aren't any sound effects, which is kind of a bummer. So if I want a sound effect somewhere, I might click here and choose placeholder, and I might just make a note that I want an awesome sound effect here, and then later I can go find one from a different library and bring that in. When I'm finished, I have a couple options. I can download this as an MP3. I can also download the text transcript separately. And Adobe Podcast has something called an audiogram. An audiogram is going to allow me to hear the podcast while the transcript plays as text over top. If I select share, this will allow me to create a template. That way in the future, if I'm making more podcasts, I don't have to start from scratch. And if I take one step back and scroll down, I can now scan for more templates in Adobe Express, and I'll select something that matches the feel of my podcast. I can make some quick edits. And then I drag my MP3 directly on top. And then I'm going to zoom way out and drag out this visual so that it matches the same length as my podcast, like that. Now I have the option of re-downloading this, and instead of an MP3, I now have an MP4, and I can upload my podcast to YouTube or send it to a friend. And that wraps up this tutorial. I hope you agree that with Adobe Podcast, creating high-quality podcasts has never been easier. Until next time, thanks for joining. Welcome to the Adobe Podcast Quick Guide. If you've ever wanted to start a podcast but felt overwhelmed by the tech, Adobe Podcast makes it simple. With AI-powered tools and a clean interface, it helps you create